I stepped onto that stage with fear and anxiety pulsating through my body. My mouth was dry, my heart was pounding, and my stomach was doing backflips. I was blinded by the lights, but I was painfully aware that the audience was packed with people, many who knew me professionally, but they didn't really know me. I struggled to hold back the tears. Never was this a story that I meant to share, but I was about to compete in my first ever speaking competition. Only for me, it wasn't about the joy of speaking or the thrill of competing. It was a deep-rooted need I had to share my personal story and be seen and heard in my truth. And all at once, all of the pain that had crippled me almost my entire life was about to be revealed. The words came rushing out of me, and I knew I'd never be able to take them back. I stood frozen in the realization that I had just shared my 30-year battle with IBS and all of the ugly hidden truths that went along with it. The unspoken pain and constipation, the diarrhea and the running to the washroom, and what often went hand in hand with the digestive issues that I didn't know back then was anxiety and depression, and I had debilitating bouts of both of them. But what was even worse were the times that I tried to get out of my pain. Those shameful secrets that I kept locked away for fear that if anyone knew or found out, the perfect facade of my life would come crumbling down. And then, who would I be? I finished my speech in a blur, and I made my way off the stage. I was greeted with hugs and tears and gratitude for sharing my story. It felt good. I felt good. But when the winners were announced, my name wasn't called. I felt the sting burn through my body. And it wasn't the fact that I hadn't won a prize, but the fact that I'd ripped myself open, wide open. And for what? I made my way off the stage, put on my mask, pretended that everything was okay. I congratulated the winners, and I got out of there. That night and the immediate days that followed, I felt raw and sad and broken. I knew I'd have to get out of that slump, and eventually I did. Within a week, I received a copy of my video. There was no way I was going to put that out there. It took me 3 months and all the courage that I had just to share it with my family. My dad, he was the hardest to tell. He couldn't relate to depression. He'd say, pull your socks up, just keep yourself busy. Well, eventually I posted my video, and the emotional messages came pouring in. I'd cry over and over again just reading them, and finally realizing why I'd shared my story. It wasn't about my flaws and imperfections. It was about vulnerably sharing a human experience. And wow, did people relate. Some connected with my story, and others just to the courage that it took me to share it. And for me, just thinking that I could help one person with my story, well, that meant the world to me. This whole experience was life-changing for me. Throughout my life, I'd often tried to push outside my comfort zone. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is where I grew. And those experiences where I pushed through my self-doubt and feelings of inadequacy is where my self-worth really stretched. I learned that each person's self-worth is shaped through their own personal journey. Through each relationship, each challenge, and each opportunity to push outside our comfort zone, we grow and evolve and shapeshift. I've learned that with risk, there is reward. With discomfort, there is growth. And every single step I took to being a better version of myself, I loved myself a little bit more. And it's as though now I can look into a mirror, stare into my soul, and say, finally, I love you for enduring. I love you for pushing through the pain. And mostly, I love you for never giving up.